Hello, it's me, and we're going to extend our concepts and our instructions on the 180-degree Rubik's Cube scramble and solve to a Supercube. Can we do it to a Supercube? And the answer is yes, you can. Now the interesting thing about doing this is, as you recall, most mods are Supercubes, which means if you rotate them by 180 degrees, they won't shapeshift. So bear that in mind, as we might be able to do non-shapeshifting scrambles and non-shapeshifting solves based on this technique. So the difference between a Supercube and a normal cube, in a 3x3 anyway, is that the orientation of the center has a specific place. Green comes down here, white is over here, blue is over here, and yellow is over here, and you'll find that with all of these. So because of that, a lot of the algorithms that we're using would spin the center around, but it really wouldn't matter if there's no specific orientation. Now there is specificity to that, so we just have to expand our strategy a little bit. When faced with a new puzzle, and with the want to apply the same algorithms to that puzzle, what might be a good idea is to go ahead and do an algorithm and see how it affects things, because it might not affect things in exactly the same way. But once you figure out how it does that, then you can better do your solve. So the good news is the algorithm is exactly the same. The interesting news is that you have to get used to the concept of deconstruction, doing your algorithm, and then reconstruction. So here's what I mean by that. So let's do the algorithm and just see what kind of effects this has. It's going to be 2u, 2r, 2f, 2u, then 2f, 2r, 2u, 2f. So what you can see is that these two, just like before, got swapped, and these two, just like before, got swapped. But here's what's different. Notice that this center has now been rotated. The orange one is now facing down instead of up, and this over here, the blue one, is facing down instead of the green one. All the rest are fine. Orange up, brown up, orange up, orange up. So basically what it did is it did exactly the same thing. The only difference is it's now rotated this center and rotated that center. So we have to bear that in mind if we want to solve this, and as long as we understand that, then we can play by the rules and get it solved that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and scramble it and see how we use this extra bit of restriction, this extra rule, so that we can use it to solve the puzzle. So abracadabra. Okay, nice and scrambled. So the first step in solving this is we want to orient our centers so that they're where they need to be. So starting off with putting the green on the top, let's go ahead and put these in. So either the stripe needs to be turned 180 degrees, like in this case, or it's already up, like in this case. Turn it up here, and we're good. How about here? Well, the brown has to be facing down here, so turn it here, and the brown is facing up. So we've got all the centers oriented. The next step is going to be, just like the 3x3, corners. Now this is where things get a little bit different, but not too difficult to bear in mind. Let's go ahead and put a green corner in appropriately. I see two green corners, but they're not where they need to be. So let's start off with the green corners down here. This needs to come up over here. You see the white and brown stripe? That needs to come here. But I can't just go like this, because if I do, I'm going to turn this upside down. So here's what you have to do, and it turns out that these both are lined up appropriately. In order to turn this correctly, you have to turn this away from the center that's going to turn last. So 1, 2. Turn this down, 1, 2, so that this green is facing down to accept this green here. Turn it into place so that they're lined up, and then turn it up. So now you're doing well. I did a similar strategy when doing the crazy 3x3 series, but basically that's one of the Supercube concepts, is to make sure you're lining things up appropriately. So just find the other corners, which are usually down here. You've got these two which are lined up. This needs to move up, but again we have to coordinate it with the center, so move it out of the way, move it down, or rotate this down, move it in so that these stripes are facing each other or on the same area, and move it up. So these are now in, these are now appropriate. Looking down here, these are probably going to be in or within 180 degrees of being in, and we're good, I think. Yeah, we're good. So that wasn't too hard. Again, the only difference between this and a Supercube is orientation of the centers, and then putting the corners in in coordination with the centers that you have. So now the next step, and that's placing these. The algorithm is the same, but I'm going to demonstrate what I mean about deconstruction, doing the algorithm, and reconstruction. Remember, an algorithm causes a very specific effect with very specific pieces and nothing else. So I'm free to turn the cube any way I want, do the algorithm, which will have specific effects, and then turn it back. That's what I mean about deconstruction and reconstruction. It's kind of like balancing an equation. Whatever you do to one side is going to affect the other side as well. So let's take a look and see what can be rotated. So let's go ahead and turn these. Now, when I swap these two, I know this is going to turn 180 degrees, and so is this. But that's okay, as long as I understand what I'm dealing with. So we'll just go ahead and do our algorithm. 2u, 2r, 2f, 2u, 2f, 2r, 2u, 2f. Okay, so that did swap these, even though they're not exactly coordinated where we want them to be. And now this has been turned, and this has been turned, and these guys have been flipped. But this one kind of likes, well, not exactly. Thought I might like where it's at. So what can we do to, we have a choice. We can either hold it here and do the algorithm again, which will flip this back and flip this back, or we can maybe hold it here, which will flip this back and flip this out. So this will be out and this will be out, freeing us up to do this. So let's take a look at what I mean about deconstruction and construction. I look at this over here, the white and orange. If I move this here, this will move over here just fine. So this will find a nice home over here. This will come over here, and it won't really be happy here, but that's okay. At least we'll move this one in. If I do that, then notice that the corners came out, do the algorithm, then move it back. The end result is this will end up over here. I'm going to double turn this over here so that this can come over to here. So 2u, 2r, 2f, 2u, 2f, 2r, 2u, 2f. Then immediately reconstruct it back. If I do that, I've got all my corners calibrated. I've got the puzzle calibrated the way that I want, and now this is in, this is rotated back, and this is rotated back. So I'm going to do similar things in terms of deconstruction and reconstruction. This is also in, and this is not in over here. So I notice that this is going to find a nice home over here. So why don't I do the same thing? Why don't I double turn this over here, and this will come over here really nicely. What's more, if I look at this blue and yellow side, that's what I have over here. So I just have to remember that I'm double turning this over here and double turning this over here. And by doing that, I'm going to move this to here and this to here. And this will find a nice home over here lining up with a white. So I've just deconstructed it. Now let's go ahead and do our algorithm. 2u, 2r, 2f, 2u, 2f, 2r, 2u, 2f. Now, very quickly reconstruct it back. So remember we turned this here, and now we turn this over here. So bear in mind the end result is we did rotate this and we did rotate this as well, but this is in, this is actually in, believe it or not, and these guys are in as well. So that's what I mean about deconstruction and reconstruction. Just don't lose your perspective. So now what? Well, if I wanted to continue to hold it here so that I can move these back in, I take a look at these two. This wants to go here and this wants to go here. They'll find very nice homes over there. So why don't I double turn this here, double turn this here. Flip this, it'll rotate these back, then flip it back. What about these two though? Do I want to swap these? And well, not really. These two are actually in. Don't let this middle fool you. This orange, this yellow actually belongs over here. But this can go here and this can go here. So these two can be swapped. So here's how I deconstruct it. I'm going to go move these down, move this down, do a R2 and an L2. Then I'm going to move these to this side. So turn this here with a 2U and a 2D. Do the algorithm and then reconstruct it back. 2U, 2R, 2F, 2U, 2F, 2R, 2U, 2F. Now remembering what we did, we just reconstructed. This moves twice, this moves twice, this moves twice, and this moves twice. Okay? So now you can see how close we are. This is all in and this is all in. So now we just have a couple more to go. So as long as you bear that in mind, as long as you understand the rules of engagement, then you'll be able to win the battle. This green goes here, this blue goes here. Now this obviously doesn't stay here, this has to come over here, but that's a good start. At least when I put this blue over to here, this is where it wants to be, so this will be completely fixed. These two are going to be rotated out, but that's okay. I can rotate them back if I just reconstruct it with what needs to happen here. So 2U, 2R, 2F, 2U, 2F, 2R, 2U, 2F. Okay, as promised, this is fine. This is good. These two have been swapped, but that's okay for now. So now let's see what needs to happen. These two need to be swapped. But I need to do it in conjunction with this orientation to rotate these back. So what can I do? What can I do to make that happen? Well, what I can do is I can move this to here and this to here. So let's deconstruct it without touching this. I'm going to do an F2 to move this here. Then I'm going to do an L2 to move this here. So these guys are going to swap. These are going to swap back. I just have to remember exactly what I did. So I started off with an L2. So L2 and F2 will bring me back. 2U, 2R, 2F, 2U, 2F, 2R, 2U, 2F. And immediately reconstruct it back. 2L, 2F, and you're done. You did it. So basically, you've solved the Supercube just to kind of check our work. Orange, 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 orange. Green, that's good. And green over here. So basically, the concepts of doing the 180 with the Supercube is number one, orientation of the center. Number two, putting the corners in with a proper coordination with the centers. And number three, the concept of deconstruction and reconstruction. So here's my challenge to you. If I was able to do that with the Supercube, and if modifications, the 3x3 mods, are really just Supercubes, then you should be able to do mods, such as this guy, the Master Power Morphinx. So here's my challenge to you. Take what we talked about, take what I just went over, and apply that to doing 180-degree turns with this guy. So that is my challenge to you. You should be able to do it. The only thing that you can run into trouble with is the perspective, knowing what's up, what's F, what's R, what's L. But you should be able to do it. Basically, it's a way of solving a mod without shape-shifting the scramble or shape-shifting the solution. So let me see if you're able to do that. Let me know if you can. I'll come back with a solution of how to do that, but let me know if that works. You could use this. You could use an axis cube. You can use any 3x3 mod that you have, but it'll be an interesting challenge. But I'll come back with a solution for you when I see that enough people have tried. Thanks for watching.